Well, it's being willing to come back live for another video. Not gonna be on long, family. I just wanted to come on and if you check the title out, it's called Establishing Monies, Establishing Wealth, using debt. Okay. Then of course I want to talk about sticks and stones recap. All right. But I'm gonna wait a minute here, see if we can get some cats up in the garden. And if my comment is enabled, because the last time I had a live it was disabled, but you can leave a comment, let me know. Like I said, we're gonna talk about, there are a lot of videos out here from a lot of these economists, a lot of these what they call scare tactic cats that tell you that the United States is going to go into a recession. The United States is, going to be one of the worst recessions ever. We have $21 trillion worth of debt. All this consumer debt, the trade tariff, all these scare tactics, right? Everything, really, if you're financially, conscious and staying on top of things, then that's not bad news to you. That's good news. You did? Nephew, what it do? Doing good, brother. Doing good. Thank you, man. I'm glad you're up in the garden. That's good news. And so what I want to do tonight is I want to kind of piggyback on what I talked about in former videos about debt. All right. Remember, all of the bad that you hear about on the television, the 21 trillion, the government spending, the excessive borrowing, the trade deficit. Okay. That's all for pundits to talk about. We talk about the real actors and the fake actors. That's just for them. That information for us should be encouraging information only if you take heed to a couple of these steps I'm going to talk about tonight when it comes to debt. Like I said, all this information I'm saying is for entertainment purposes only. You dig? But I'm not saying anything that I don't do. Right? I'm not saying anything that I'm not doing. You know what I'm saying? Currently doing, rather. So the title says establishing wealth by using debt. How do you do that? Well, first of all, family, in order for you to establish some type of wealth that's going to be, attained over a long period of time. Remember, I'm not talking about winning the lottery. What I'm talking about is you using your due diligence to use good debt. Remember in past videos, I talked about how if your debt or if the things that you buy, things that you're getting loans for, not making you money, then that's bad debt. We talk about assets and liabilities. It's a liability. Look at your current ratio. Okay. So like I say, new cars, new homes. I mean, if you put yourself in that situation by doing your due diligence and saving your money and, being able to put 20% down and having all your ducks in a row, then that's cool. That kind of debt's not going to affect you. But even still, if your money's not making money, especially from a loan standpoint, when you're trying to build it, it's detrimental. Okay. But what can be beneficial is going to get you a loan, and pay off some of your credit cards, right? Why I say that, guys, there's $1 trillion worth of credit debt by United States citizens. $1 trillion in credit card debt. Where is that going? Nowhere. Okay. And then you think about the auto loan defaults. That's why I mentioned buying new cars, because there are so many auto loans that are being defaulted on right now that they're not talking about. And then you piggyback that on the $9.2 trillion worth of mortgages that are out there. Now, remember, the last market crash, the last recession we had in 2007, 2008 was basically because of all these hedge fund companies, these shadow banks buying up all those bad mortgages, those subprime mortgages, right? Now, if you notice, they're not saying, or I've been looking for the information, family, and it's not as transparent of the number of subprime loans that are currently out there right now. So you got to ask yourself, out of the $9.2 trillion in mortgages that's out there right now, how much of that is subprime? Because if you look at what's going on now, I mean, it's a big bubble waiting to happen. Okay, so that's a good thing for those that are putting themselves in a situation. So when I say good debt, uh, going to get a loan that you know is going to be beneficial for you. Like for instance, paying off those credit cards, and then once you consolidate that, pay the credit card off, then you can pay that loan back. But it's counterproductive if you pay the loan back and you don't do it on time every month. Okay, because the main objective of your family is establishing credit by using debt. And the only way that can really help you is, if you have the capital. And if you don't have the capital to do it, then that's when you start utilizing these loans. So you go get a loan for $1,000, you go get a loan for whatever amount, pay it off, and watch your credit score rise. And see, once your credit score rise after paying off that one loan, okay, you go get another one for a higher number, and then start using it, right, to build assets. Okay, I mean, when this market crash, family, there's going to be a lot of opportunities out there to get into real estate. Okay, a lot of opportunities out there to gain assets in the global market, i.e., commodities, bonds, equities, annuities, okay, stuff of that nature. Now, I mentioned all of those because if you're younger, I think it's important that you kind of diversify your portfolio and look into a lot of different things, okay? But once you get older, you need to be more conscious of your risks and try to avoid as much risk as possible, or loss of principal as possible. And how do you do that? By really kind of looking into fixed index annuities, some stable blue chip dividend stocks, right? And whole life insurance policies, stuff of that nature, and U.S. Treasury bonds, stuff of that nature that's going to protect your principal, right? And of course, you can't say enough about the IRAs when you talk about the tax deferred benefit, all right? So, like I say, establishing your wealth by using debt is a great option. That's what rich people do. That's why when the Federal Reserve is wanting to cut interest rates, who does cutting interest rates help and who does it hurt? See, it hurts us if we're trying to establish a savings account, okay? Because what happens when the Federal Reserve cut interest rates? Or they cutting the interest that these banks are paying you to keep the money in there. So, you're not really getting bang for your buck by just keeping it in the savings account. And so when the Federal Reserve said we're going to lower interest rates, that hurts us. But it helps the multimillionaires and the wealthy because they have the capital and the collateral to go get loans at a low interest, mind you. All right. So even though, when you hear that, lowering interest rates, yes, it's beneficial, but how many banks are going to give you a loan? Well, you ain't got go to the bank tomorrow, try to see how they try to get a loan. And we're at these low interest rates right now. Okay. See how much they try to charge you. And see what the success rate is. I'm telling you, they're not doing it. And of course, with that being said, you got $1 billion a month, in deficit every month. So why, if you know the government, the wealthy, the elite, they're using debt to continue to build their wealth, then what we need to do is start using debt to build wealth. And the way you do that, you have to build your credit. And once you build your credit, once you start establishing, getting those loans and paying those loans off and watching your credit score go up, that's going to be beneficial for you in the long run. And that's the only way it's going to happen, family. It's not going to happen overnight. So you have to make sure start setting yourself some goals, pay yourself first, build up an emergency fund, all right? Go get a loan, okay? If your credit score is in the 500s and the 600s and you're trying to build it up, sometimes you got to bite the bullet. Use debt to increase your asset, to increase your value. You did? All right? So I want to come back with a quick, quick recap, because I talked about how using debt can help you in earlier videos. And so when you hear about, like say, this economy being this greatest economy, it's not, okay? Because of the government spending, because of the $1 trillion in credit card debt. If you're in the garden right now, or if you're watching me later, how much credit card debt did you got? Okay? You know, and your auto loans. You know what I'm saying? How many more years you got to pay on your loan, auto loan? How many more years you have to pay on that mortgage? Okay, and if you have a mortgage, you don't built up equity in your mortgage. Okay, make sure you use that mortgage, use that equity, not just to cash out. Okay, don't just cash out on it. You know, use it wisely. All right. And so, fam, I want to come back with a quick information about how to establish debt, how to establish wealth using debt. Right. Before I get out of here, I want to do a quick recap on the Dave Chappelle Sticks and Stone. I just thought it was a brilliant comedy special. Because anything that makes you think, anything that gives me food for thought, anything that's thought provoking, I love. And like I said before in my last video about the Dave Chappelle, family's comedy. Okay, but it was comedy where it was conscious comedy. And Afro melanated people, if you ain't get a chance to watch it, check it out. All right, because his comedy bit about the methamphetamine crisis and the opioid crisis in America and how the government is handling that. It has actually been perceived as a national health crisis and not been criminalized like it was in the 80s with the Just Say No campaign. I thought that was a comedic genius approach to that, right? In the 80s, the crack epidemic was not viewed as a health crisis. I mean, it was drugs. It was, a war on drugs, a war on crime. I mean, Ronald Reagan have said, Nancy Reagan said, just say no. And Dave Chappelle did a great job. We said, in the health crisis, when the methamphetamine crisis, they call it a crisis, and they want to, allocate monies to get all this help for these drug addicts, right? Like Dave Chappelle said, but in the 80s, when it was black people on crack, it just said, just say no. And I thought that was genius, right? Well, family, yeah, like I said, make sure the difference between an asset and a liability. I mean, if it's not something that's bringing money in, it's a liability. You did? So, I'm going to get on out there. I just want to be on the garden for a little while. Like I said, just on a quick recap, uh, get that loan to establish you some credit. Don't just get a loan to pay bills. Those payday loan places are predatory. Remember, they're going to get you regardless. Okay, so you might as well try to use that debt. And I can't emphasize it enough. Go and read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, because he talks about that. And it's a big misconception that loans cannot be used to build assets, and they can be. All right. Well, family, in the meantime, between time, many more sound society, bring you joy, and being with us out of 5,000.